comment on peut communiquer, comment vous pouvez entrer en interaction avec d'autres parties prenantes. Pas que c'est difficile d'entrer en contact, mais d'entrer de manière pertinente. Ça peut être un défi pour certains et il y a des techniques, il y a des choses qui peuvent vous permettre de vous préparer. La conférencière qu'on a aujourd'hui, c'est Susanna Brown, que j'ai eu la chance de voir à l'Université Concordia, donc qui est une présentation qui a été faite. Et je pense que c'est quelque chose qui est valable et qui peut amener plusieurs d'entre nous à être plus efficaces dans nos présentations. La présentation va être en anglais, ce qui va nous permettre aussi de pratiquer et pour certains d'améliorer notre anglais. Susanna, all yours.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup, Alain. Je suis tellement heureuse d'être ici avec tout le monde de la groupe ISACA. Comme Alain avait dit, le webinaire va être en anglais, mais un peu de pratique pour moi, de parler avec vous en français. Mais je vais commencer en anglais. Si vous avez jamais des questions, tu peux les poser dans les deux langues. So like I said, I'm very excited to be here with the ISACA group, very happy to have been invited by Alain and to speak to this very, very elite group of IT and information security and IT professionals. I understand the expertise that is a part of this group and how important it is that you communicate clearly and effectively. And that can be difficult when your subject matter can be very, very complex as it is yours. The good news is you have an expertise and you have a background and a knowledge that needs to be shared. And so my intention today is to facilitate how you share that information and how you can bring your expertise across so that you never feel like you may have to hold back or hesitate from sharing. So I'm going to start and present a few things, and I do have one question for you. So let me just start this way. So again, how IT and information security and IT professionals can influence, inspire, and create change and lasting impact through powerful presentations. So what I'd like to ask you first, this question. What do you think 45%? What could that possibly mean? Now, I haven't given you much context, so I'll just share with you 45%. Now, 45%, what this means is 45% of people have either rejected a promotion or refrained from applying for a job due to a fear of public speaking. Now, this presentation is not simply going to be how to get over a fear of public speaking, although I find it important to address this at the beginning and be very clear that this is a piece that does stop people from reaching the heights and the levels and the professional and career levels that they can. So I find it important to start with this simply because we just need to understand the context that whatever level you're at, whether it's a manager level, director level, VP, a CEO level, everyone does stress about this in a way because you're here to share your message, and whoever is listening, whether it's a group or whether it's one individual, one important individual, it's very important for you to be able to get that point across, critical to your career. So to give you an idea of what we're doing today, we're going to go into 3 specific subject matter, again, to help give you that, hopefully that one idea, maybe 2 ideas, maybe 3 ideas that you can take immediately after this webinar and apply it to your next important presentation or communication. You with me so far? Okay, along the way, I may be asking you some questions and will request that you put the answer into the chat because I do want to hear from you as well. This is not ever meant for me to just talk at you for the entire hour. I see some hearts going there. Fantastic. I'm not going to speak at you because I do want to understand, do want to hear from you as well. So let's get started. Here's, again, good news, is that I'm going to be using a variety of different words to pretty much say the same thing, okay? A presentation. A presentation is an activity in which someone shows, describes, or explains something to one person or group of people. So I'm going to use the word presentation, communication, conversation, whatever the case, but all it means is whether you are speaking to one person or many people, how do you get your point across? Now, what's important to remember as well, hold on, having a little tech issue, is here's the great news. You are always presenting, aren't you? You are updating your team on a project. We don't always think of ourselves as presenters, but every conversation you are having is some form of a presentation, whether you're updating your team on a project or sharing an idea to your manager or colleagues, talking to a stakeholder, hanging out on these virtual presentations, virtual meetings, presenting at them, or just speaking up in a meeting as well. Whether you're speaking or networking at conferences, you're on important calls, because sometimes we still do use that phone, sometimes, right? Or whether you're discussing issues, solving problems. However, your expertise will not show through if there is too much information, too much data, too complicated, too much for your audience to take in. It's also not going to work if it's too, hate to say it, boring or over their head. Or it's really not going to work if you fear speaking up, if you hesitate to speak up in meetings with those important people that you are around, with your clients, if you are doubting yourself and you don't have confidence in yourself. So here's my first question to you. A guessing game, I guess you could say, that I would love to see in the chat. And what is your guess? What percentage of respondents do you think said that they would do almost anything to avoid giving a presentation, including pretending to be sick or asking a colleague to give the presentation, even if it means losing respect in the workplace? What percentage? So if you could put your answer in the chat. Hang on, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute, because I would love to see what might be coming up in the chat. If it is, what percentage of individuals do you think would hesitate or just stay away completely from giving a presentation? Do we have any guesses? I'll give it another couple of minutes. I don't see any coming in, but maybe Alain, maybe you are seeing some come in.
Yes, it's between 85 and 20. So we have
85 and 20.
quite a range between those two.
Okay, great. 80 between 85. Oh, I see. Here's the Zoom. Oh, it's in the Q&A. Okay, there we go. We've got 20, 85, 60,
70,
70.
60.
Okay, all great. You know, and I understand why we feel that way, right? That in fact, sometimes it seems like this insurmountable task to really have to give that important presentation. However, the good news, it's only 20% who are willing. I mean, let's go back and look at that, because it was a pretty extreme, it's an extreme example. They would do almost anything to avoid giving a presentation, including pretending to be sick or asking a colleague to do it. So 20% I think is good news. The source is from Forbes, because it just means that although many of us may really dislike the process and the experience of getting up and presenting, some of us will just suck it up and do it. And sometimes we will do it, find out it's really not as bad as all that. But the good news is that, you know, we in so many of these professional positions, we do push ourselves to do it, even if it doesn't feel good, even if we don't really want to, but we do it because it's necessary for your career. The problem is that when we agree to do it, and then the goal becomes just getting it over with, instead of presenting in a way that is valuable for your audience and really creating an educational and important and valuable experience for them, right? So you see the sort of the balance. I'll present and get it over with, and I will present and deliver value. And so I think it's fair to say we want to go on this end. We want to present and deliver value, but how do we move away from that feeling that bubbles up inside us that we just want to get it over with? And that's part of what I'm going to talk about today with you. So, all right. So coming back to what we're going to focus on, the power of the essential message. How do we get really clear on what it is we need to say? Because if you remember the slide a few slides ago with the big blackboard and all the information on it, when you present that type of content, the risk is you lose your audience. And once you lose them, very difficult to get them back. So how can you, as the expert in your field, focus down into the content that is most necessary for that audience at that time? And it does require us to be a little tough in terms of carving out what content stays and what content has to leave, but it is a far more important experience for your audience and a far more relevant experience for your audience. Then we're going to look into the speech structure success strategies. I tried to say that 4 times fast, doesn't always work. And then finally, we will address how to present with more confidence, build your impact, manage the nerves, because putting together a presentation is one important piece, but actually once you've got that great presentation, that great message, those beautiful slides, and it doesn't come out of your mouth the right way, well, right, we have to manage ourselves once we're in front of that audience as well. All right, so I'm going to go back to the chat for a moment, and I'd love to ask you what quality makes a great speaker. So in other words, if you were to choose one word to describe how do you feel like when you look at someone and you think, wow, they are really nailing this presentation? What is it that they're doing? What do they have that really creates that experience that makes you feel like they're that good? So again, I'll ask you if you can go into the chat or the Q&A, wherever you end up going, and what is coming in. Feel free to share. We've got confidence, we've got motivation. Yes, any others? Very often I will see confidence is always there, motivation.
Empathy.
Empathy, yep. I've seen others. I mean, feel free to keep coming in with them. Confidence, empathy, engagement, poise, charisma, content, clear messages. What else do we have coming in, Elaine? Do we have any others coming in? Hold on, I saw that.
We are looking to have people that are simple, authentic, that can make it clear for the other people to understand. A
Yep.
wide consciousness, which is something that we don't see often, but that is proper.
Yep, absolutely. You said, so like consciousness of being conscious of the audience.
Yes. Oh, and
Yeah.
a wide one, just not
Yeah.
just to focus, but having an open one.
Yeah. Excellent.
And
And you know what? Oh, sorry. What else has come in?
they're simple also. I wanted to
Simple.
hear you bounce back on that one.
Yes, absolutely. Listen, here's the purpose of it. And I like that you've called that out, because what we're going to do is look towards how do we simplify what it is we need to say. But what I want to call attention to when I ask this question is all the different responses that tend to come in means that all the people, our peers, our colleagues, everybody values similar things, but one person may value confidence more, one person may value empathy more, and that's why that's at the top of the list. Some people may value simplicity because those big, heavy, data-driven presentations maybe are very difficult for them to listen to. So you see the different priorities that are coming up. Very often confidence or engagement is the most popular answer, but they are never the only answers. And so what I want to draw attention to is to look at this list of qualities that we look at speakers and understand that it's not just confidence that will make us a good speaker. We have to take care of our audience in a variety of ways in order to get our point across to them in a way that is most relevant, and also in a way that they can grab it and make it meaningful to them. So that's why I say that confidence is not actually a mark. We don't need to be confident when we speak, because we've seen many confident speakers who don't necessarily share a straight up message. You're laughing, Alain. Is that because you've had that
Yes.
experience?
Yes,
Yes.
definitely. That's why I
Yes.
thought it was very funny for myself.
Yes,
But
absolutely. And I think we've all been in that case where we've seen someone who's very confident, but the message is still not getting through, but they're leaning into their confidence as the core reason why this is going to be an easy presentation, and it's not, right? Sometimes the confident speakers are the toughest to follow. So this is why I'm not saying that if you're a confident speaker, that's your case, but that does, right? But that does happen, and that's why we have to be mindful of it. So thank you for sharing that. Again, to notice exactly that we value one thing, those of us, whatever our answer was, we value, and others value other pieces. And it's important to understand what everybody values so that everything can be integrated when you speak. And all of these different, the different words that are put down, you can be that person who integrates all of it. But it also does take a little bit of preparation and the right type of preparation as well. So moving on, what makes a great speaker? So there are three qualities. Hold on, I'm just going to white this out for three qualities, three essential elements that need to be in every presentation. So basically, okay, let me stop here for a minute again. You're gonna see my face again. Okay, so for me, there are 4 phases that will create a presentation and an educational experience for an audience, where phase 1 is really getting clear on what is this essential message you need to get through to them. What do you need them to walk away with? And so that's what I want to talk about first. Phase 2 then moves into, once you understand what you want to talk about, well, now phase 2 is how do you put that into a structured, engaging, focused message. Stage 3 is really about understanding your audience and understanding who they are and why they're there and what they need from this message. I'll go a little bit into that today. And stage 4 is the practice, the preparation, the rehearsal, the making sure that whatever you've beautifully created comes out of your mouth the right way. So when I am working with teams, I work with corporate teams, I work with individuals, I speak at conferences, but the majority of my work is working the training programs with teams and coaching, and we always start with those 4 phases. We don't necessarily always start at phase 1 based on what their highest needs are, but we have to start there because that includes, those 4 phases include everything that we as speakers need to do to properly prepare ourselves for being in front of an audience, any audience at all, that one person or that one audience. So what I want to share with you right now are the 3 key elements from the higher level of how we get clear on getting to our essential focused message. So go back to my white screen right now. And so I'm going to share 3 images, okay? 3 images that basically that define or describe the 3 core elements. So here's the glasses, much like mine. The glasses which show us how important it is to have clarity in your message. Okay, we all know that. It's important to be clear. We're not always sure how to get there. And actually, you know what? I'll take that back. Not everybody values the clarity in their message. They say they value the clarity in their message, but then you hear them speak and it's not so clear, right? So we know that this is important. How do we get there? The next thing we're looking for is connection with our audience. Again, from the highest level, what we need to make sure every presentation has clarity in the message and connection with the audience. Because if all we are doing is getting up in front of an audience of blank faces and presenting our knowledge and then moving away without understanding, without making the audience care, without having them see the relevance and why they might be an important part of that process, then we've kind of lost that possibility of connecting with them. And finally, confidence. I want to bring this up again. It's not confidence in ourselves, although yes, it's important, but at this stage, confidence in our content. Is this the right content for this audience at this time? Am I telling them exactly what they need, not more and not less? Because again, the risk is we pile in information because it's all important, and yet if we do that, the risk is somewhere along the line, the audience may say, too much, and they fade out, they disengage, and it's very difficult to bring them back. So these are the three key elements that need to be in any presentation. So I'm going to ask you another question here. So knowing that we're looking to build an important first impression, a great first impression, I'm going to ask you, so is the amount of time that it takes to build your first impression, is it 18 seconds? Is it higher than 18 seconds or lower than 18 seconds? I'll wait a moment while you guess it out. Elaine, can you tell me what's coming up higher? People think it's higher, people think it's lower.
Lower so far. So
Yep.
everyone, oh, another lower.
Yep. So basically, I hear why we think it's lower, that sometimes a first impression is an instantaneous thing. I think you're not wrong. However, what I found in this, according to We Shared on Net, is that it's actually higher, that we have 27 seconds to make that first impression. You know, there's that first impression when someone just walks out and you look at them and you see how they look and how they carry themselves. And that's the instant first impression. But it's 27 seconds from when they start speaking that you realize, is this person going to share a valuable message for me, or is this kind of going to be a waste of my time? So that's good news, right? We have 27 seconds. Doesn't mean that we should take those first 26 seconds for granted, right? We are, our impression matters from the second we stand up until we get there. But at least we have 27 seconds of that first few seconds of sharing our message with the audience and what we're going to talk about. And that's how they decide, is this for me? Or, uh-oh, I'm wasting my time. There's so much more that I could be doing. Okay, so now I want to share, as we talked about, the three critical elements of presentation. So how do we get there? Right? It's great to have the theory. We all know it's good to be clear and connected and confident, but how do we start breaking that down and getting there? So here's what I want to share with you, that there are three questions you need to ask yourself in order to get a little bit clearer on getting closer to your essential message. Okay, and these questions are related to what your purpose and what your objective is as well. So first, your objective is to educate the audience, obviously, right? Makes sense. What do you want them to learn? So this is actually the part of every presentation this is the data, the facts, the information, the statistics. This is in all the presentations. Great, but this is not what allows you to connect properly with an audience. This is what allows you to educate them, give them the data, and that's it. But if we really want a round experience where we get them involved and where we really create that meaningful message, we need to go another step down, which is to inspire them. What do you want them to feel? And so I don't mean feel happy or feel motivated, but at this point, this is where we're looking to connect with our audience. So we want them to feel like this is relevant to them, that whatever you're talking about is important to them, and why. So that means it's part of your job is to share very quickly within those first 27 seconds, optimally, how and why is this important to you? And why are you, whoever I'm talking to, why do you need to be here? Why are you a part of this process? Why am I sharing this with you? And finally, to persuade them. You want to persuade them. So what do you want them to do? Now, sometimes you're just sharing information, but ultimately you are sharing information so that they can do something with it. They can think about it more, they can take action on something. And when we are creating these three elements together, this is where we get very clear and help us. This is the part for us, the speaker, to determine what is it that I need to include in my presentation. So when you can start from a place where you look at it as, what do I want them to learn? What do I want them to feel? And what do I want them to do? This may help you identify what information needs to go in and what is the extra that does not need to go in, that just sort of creates a little bit more noise and distraction from them. Okay, so it's even, let me just show you this. Hold on, we're gonna get off this for a minute. I'm gonna show you my handy dandy whiteboard, okay? And on the whiteboard, what's important is here we're educating, we're inspiring, and we are persuading, right? It is possible, of course. Oh, there you are. It is possible, of course, to only educate and inspire. It's possible to only educate because that's actually where most of our presentations start and finish. A bunch of information without the context, without the problem statement, without the joint challenge, and without the call to action and the next steps, right? But an information only presentation can live on its own, but it's just far less effective to really connect with the audience and have them come on board with you. So as you could see, yes, you could do an educate and inspire. You can educate and persuade your audience. You can do all of that. But when you do, you know, normally I like to make this bigger. I don't this little piece right here where you get all of it involved. That's really where you end up. Nailed. Oh, nailed it. See? Nailed it. When you have all three together. So that's why I urge you to take that further step and ask yourself, beyond what do I need to say in this presentation, is what do I need to say and why do I need to say it in order to really create the next important steps? What do I need to say? Why do I need to say it? And what happens next? What do I need them to do afterwards? This in itself will help you really identify and start to narrow down your content, which is a source of huge overwhelm for many people, again, across many levels, is how to really narrow down what do I really need to do. And I worked with one client last week who's trying to put together this big event. He's got to give multiple presentations. He's got to introduce people, and he's a VP in the company, and you know, kind of gets me into a boardroom and says, I don't want people to know that, like, I just don't know what to say. It's all important. And so again, this is what will help us narrow down to what is the most important in that moment. Okay. So, sorry. So that is our first. I'm mindful of the time. I know we have to finish by 1:45, so I would like to move along. If you do have any questions, si vous avez jamais des questions, vous pouvez les mettre dans le Q&A box, dans la boîte Q&A, and Alain will ask them at the end, because we will have a few moments at the end. So we talked about the power of the essential message, and now speech structure success strategies. This is the exciting part. This is also, again, from what we just talked about, I hope you can find that one way to sort of start adjusting and thinking about your presentations differently. This part is where you can actually start doing and integrating this into your presentations. So this was created, this part of the presentation was created because I would sit through so many presentations and think to myself, what am I doing here? This is the longest, most meaningless, doesn't apply to me. Why am I here? Not interesting. Where are the snacks? When can I leave? Like this. So if you have ever been in that similar kind of situation where you're sitting in a presentation that's just, it's just not working for you, then maybe you'll enjoy the answer to this question. So what are the problems with presentations that you attend? So when you are sitting in a presentation and you are finding yourself disengaging, what are the top reasons where you feel, why you feel that this could be happening? I don't know. Oh, sorry. I don't know if you could see, but is it because there's way too much information, the presentation goes on for too long? You're not sure what you're supposed to do with the information. It's all facts. It's so boring. It's not relevant to you, or any other manner of reasons that would cause you to disengage because this is not the right message for you, not relevant for you. So what happens very often is that presentations can go in many different directions. And so it can go off on tangents. Sometimes a speaker could be talking about something and it reminds him of a story, and then he goes off in a different direction, or he starts talking about something else. and it goes over time and he has a hard time, he or she, or they have a hard time coming back to what it was they were trying to say because they go off in different directions. So this is what will help us get a little bit clearer in this. And so that's why I like to introduce you to what's called the diamond speech structure flowchart. So this, I will also say, actually, this is the book that I wrote. What I just presented is in chapter 3, the Educate, Inspire, and Persuade. Chapter 4 is all about the diamond, because the diamond is that one tool that will help you. It's that one framework that will help you build a speech, build a presentation step by step. So when we get overwhelmed at what do I say first? How do I say it? Where do I put the story? Well, this will help you get there. I will tell you, yes, if you want to take a picture of this, that's fine. At the end of this presentation, I will also give you a QR code that will allow you to get this diamond sent over to you right away as well. So 2 different ways to pick this up, and I'm going to go through certain pieces of it just to give you a general overview. But even with that general overview, that's enough to hopefully give you an idea or two of how to apply it to your next presentation, conversation. Again, sometimes I give trainings just on this, where we go really deep into each point and how to really build out and connect with the audience, create the context, and really build in the stories. But what I'm going to share with you today, it's a higher level, but still intended to give you some tools that you can take away right away. Now, what I want to share with this also is, we're talking about speech structure. And so everyone knows, a basic speech structure: introduction, middle, and conclusion. Right? So hold on, I'm going to stop sharing for one moment. Everybody understands that that's the basic structure for writing, for speeches: introduction, middle, conclusion. The challenge becomes, what does that mean? What needs to be in an introduction in order to connect with the audience, in order to set the context, in order to get everybody on the same page over the problem, the challenge, the issue, the project status update? What do we need to do in that introduction in order to create that connection? What do we need to do as we move into the speech to really create, in the middle of the speech, the right facts, the right statistics, the right stories and examples? And as we move towards the bottom, as we get towards the conclusion, how do we end with impact? And it's not about saying thank you and moving on, but how do we really end with impact? So that's what this is about, and that's why it can go quite deep. But we're going to start at the top. The purpose of the structure is to keep your audience engaged and not bored. Obviously, that's a great goal right there, and it's also, for you, leaves a lot of room for you and your unique ideas and expertise. So I'm going to go through 3 specific parts here. Again, mindful of the time, I want to make sure that we have some space for questions in the end. So looking at the introduction, what needs to happen in order for us to create the connection, in order for us to create the context that gets everybody who you're speaking to back on the same page, so everyone is moving forward together. So it really addresses, why are we here? Why are you here? What is the problem, the challenge, the update that we all need to be in this room together for? It creates engagement, it creates connection. And this is also where we want to sometimes really recognize the people who we're speaking to and what they bring to this particular situation. Because it's, you are speaking to humans. Oh, there goes my book. Hold on. I'll just keep it over here for now. You are speaking to humans, and humans like to be noticed, recognized, appreciated for what they bring to the table. So how can we do that in an introduction and really make use of those important 27 seconds to make that first impression? Remembering who your audience is a critical piece of this as well, right? Who's in the audience? Why are they there? What do they already know about what you're speaking about, and what do they need to know? And getting them really clear on that as well, so that everyone moves forward in the same way. And so that, again, as IT and information security professionals, there's a whole level of a whole new, there's a vocabulary that you use that may not always land on everyone. So this enables you looking at the audience and taking this important preparation moment to understand who they are, what they already know, will help you determine what language you can use as well to keep them with you. When do they need to take action as well? So in every presentation, again, sometimes it's just an information, but sometimes you're giving this presentation at a certain time to certain people because there's a reason for it, because there's a deadline, a timeline. So all of these pieces are very important for setting the stage in the introduction. Okay, now we get to the middle of the speech. This is the easy part, right? This is where most presentations start and end, right? Here's all the facts, here's all the statistics, analogies, examples, videos, news items, everything is here. New discovery, new research, and that's great. But sometimes this is where the presentation starts. And so this is where presenters get right into it without taking the time to really just get everybody on the same page, get everybody situated and moving forward together. At the same time, here you'll see I'm talking about point 1, point 2, and point 3. It doesn't have to be like that. It can be a presentation about one thing, can be a presentation about 4 or 5 things, but I tend to break things into 3s because it's a flow. It's easy for your audience to follow, and it's easy for you as a speaker to remember as well. And so it's a lot easier when we can break it down like that instead of heaping in piles of information. Sometimes it can be about one topic, but how can we sort of split that into 3 just to break it up and make it more understandable and more of a flow for your audience? So there is sort of an art to that as well, including stories and creating stories out of your content. But here's where most of us live in our presentations, but what we need to make sure of is to keep this focused and flowing and relevant as well. And then finally, we get to the end of the presentation, right? This is where, what are the next steps? What do you want your audience to do? What do you want them to think about? Where do you want them to go next? Where is the next meeting? But also a reminder of why, right? Creating a visionary conclusion. Why are we all doing this? Bring us back to, at the beginning, we talked about here's why we're here. Well, remind them of why they're there and the value that they bring so that you can retain that connection and retain everyone moving forward at the same time. Ultimately, we want to be asking ourselves the question, why is this important? Why is it important to me? Why is it important to them? Why is it important to the business, the community, society at large? The work you're doing is such important work, and there's reasons why you are doing it, and there's reasons why you are so passionate about what you do, and it's important to recognize the why throughout the presentation. All right, we're right on time. So we talked about the power of the essential message, speech structure, success. Again, for the diamond, there is I'll share a QR code at the end where you can grab it. And finally, I just want to touch on presenting with confidence and impact, because again, building this clear message, structuring it into an engaging, focused presentation, but then struggling to even share it with others. Well, we don't want that to hold you back from the important work that you're doing, from the expertise that you already have that needs to be shared with whoever you're speaking to. I mean, you didn't go through all the work that you did to get where you are in order to hold back from sharing your ideas and your insights. So here's where we can just manage those feelings that might bubble up inside of us when you're just about to step up or speak to that important people or those important groups. So I'm going to ask you this other question to put into the chat. Among the top 5 phobias in the world, public speaking anxiety ranks as number what? It can only be number 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So where do you think it lands? Okay, we have a couple of answers coming in. Hold on, I'm going to take a quick look. What are we seeing, Alain?
1, 2.
One, two. Yes, you're not. Number what else? Okay, hold on. I
Oh,
see there.
number 4. But 1,
Four.
2 is more
Okay,
regular.
okay, so basically we're covering all bases here. We got a 1, 2, 3, and 4. I will just tell you right now, it is in fact number 1, followed by, interestingly enough, fear of death, spiders, heights, and small places. And I guess when you think of this, it's like, oh, of course, these are all terrifying things, but somehow public speaking anxiety comes out at the top. I'm not so sure if I saw like a giant spider up in the corner, I might forget about my public speaking anxiety just for a minute, but I can understand that this is something that people dream about, fear, just can sometimes be terrorized by the idea of getting up, making a mistake in front of an audience, looking stupid, not saying the right thing, being judged. Obviously, this is what we are worried about. So how can we just kind of lessen it a little bit so that it doesn't hold us back? So I love this quote from Simon Bowen. There's a powerful calm that comes with deep preparation. But how do we prepare properly? I had a client once tell me they do a lot of preparation before a presentation or a speech. They rehearse and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse and practice till it's memorized. And then I said, well, how do you know it's the right content? And they were like, what do you mean? Like, I just need to get up there and feel better about presenting it. So again, I'm all for rehearsal. I'm all for practice. It's not about that, but sometimes we do need to go back to the beginning and look at the quality and value of what it is we're presenting and the value it provides to the audience, and worry a little bit less about ourselves, right? So even when I work with my clients, and very often, well, some of them will come to me and say, I'm just not feeling it. I need to build my confidence. I have to present. And they focus there. And I say, that's great. We're going to just park your confidence for a while, because what we really need to do is look at what is it that you're saying? What is the quality of what you're saying and the relevance to the audience? Because if that's not there, of course we're going to feel nervous, because we're just throwing information out there and hoping that it lands. But if we can take time with the right type of preparation into building and crafting the message, the right message for the audience, well, then you can approach this audience with more confidence than before. So three quick suggestions, natural, important suggestions. First, know your material. May sound obvious, but I've heard stories of people who get up to present, and this really happens, that AI creates their presentations or AI creates their handouts, and they're asked a question. It becomes very obvious they're not an expert in their material. So really take the time, know your material. I mean, I know in ISACA, like, it's not really a question that professionals of your caliber would not know your material, but I'm willing to bet that some of you have sat through presentations that you thought, I'm not sure this is really correct. But anyways, let's move on from that. Know your material, very important. Know your audience. As we discussed when talking about the diamond, who are they? Why are they there? What do they need to get out of the presentation? When? What are the timelines? Where do you need them to go by what time, right? So understanding your audience so that you can create the right wording, use the right language, avoid jargon, but also just create a meaningful message for them. Because ultimately the success of a presentation is not how you feel or how well you presented, but it is how well did this message land on the audience? How well did it impact this audience? So the audience is a really critical piece of everything that you do. It's not just your expertise and your content. The audience is equally important. And know yourself. Finally, if you need to be, if you feel like you need to rehearse. Not always the easiest thing to do. I know people don't like doing it. People talk about they do it on walks, they do it in the shower, they rehearse to their dog. If you don't want to rehearse, but you just need an outline just to get clear on what you want to say, take the time to do what you need so that when you step in front of that audience of one or audience of many, you have prepared in the way that is most comfortable for you. And you also have little backup plans to ensure that when you are in front of them, and if you forget something or you freeze, that you can recover from it. I'll tell you one quick story that one of the first times that I presented, and I was quite nervous. It was a big room, 200 people, and it was a new presentation. And within the first 5 minutes, I got so nervous that my mouth got very dry. And remembering that I didn't bring any water only made things way worse for me. And so aside from being nervous, I had that uncomfortable dry mouth, weird sounding kind of thing, which it just makes everything so much bigger, doesn't it? And so sometimes, and I bring up this example as it's a very easy example, but the next time I had to present, knowing that I always have to have water near me, that in itself took out so much of my worry. It was one important backup plan. So what backup plans might you need to implement, whether it's, an outline or water or whatever you need to ensure that if you freeze, if you forget what you want to say, that you can recover quickly, because that worrying about that is actually a big piece of managing your nerves, worrying about all the things that can happen. So really taking stock and inventory of what are all the bad things that could happen in terms of technical, what can my equipment, what happens if my equipment doesn't work, what happens if things crash, all of those pieces to just try to put in that backup plan. And then finally, okay, so I promised you a copy of the diamond. Of course, the diamond is also here in my book. Here, hold on, chapter 4. Let me find it for you. And so if you would like to get your own copy, well, here it is. Okay, well, here's part of the diamond right there. That's already page 76. Grab your copy of the diamond here. It's just the QR code is gonna lead you to a quick form that's gonna ask you a couple questions about this presentation. A few other questions that I may have about you, because you know what, it's presentations like this and feedback from people like you that allows me to just understand what really lands, what maybe needs to have more focus next time, what needs to have less focus, and really what else would have been interesting for you to learn about. And at the same time, if there's any way that I could help you, there is obviously there's a question there that asks if you want to just have a conversation with me. Great, we can have a no stress, easy pressure conversation about this, about you, and about how you can be even better at the work that you do. So you'll see it says diamond and a special bonus. The special bonus is it's the same QR code. So whatever you're filling out, you will get an email back with the diamond and with this worksheet, I guess, additional document checklist to how to manage yourself if you feel very, very nervous. What are some other things that you can do to just kind of bring it down, feel a little bit better? So once you fill out that form, this will be emailed to you right away. This and the diamond. So recap, review, and remember. So now it's go time. I know I went very quickly here. Lots that I wanted to share with you. It's not every day I get to be in front of a group as elite and well-educated and experts like you. So what do we need to do? We need to build, just kind of as a recap, right? Build clarity in your message, build a connection with your audience, and build confidence in your content. Okay, remember that this is a really critical way to start for you and for you to get clear on which parts of your expertise needs to go into a presentation at any one time. We all know that sometimes all the information is important, but what needs to go in the presentation? What can go into a follow-up document or a follow-up email so that you don't have to spend all the time delivering this message? Your job is to deliver structure and focus in your message. Your job is to deliver value to your audience, and your job is to deliver your ideas and expertise because, well, just because of who you are. And just commit to yourself. Commit to yourself that you're not going to hold back, that it's okay to make mistakes. Not even saying you're going to make mistakes. It's important for you to just really lean into your expertise, lean into everything that you bring to the work that you do, your unique personality, your unique communication style, and the value that you, by committing to yourself, what you end up giving to others and the expertise that you share. And so, as I just want to leave you with this, the success of your presentation will be judged not only by the knowledge you send, but by what the listener receives. That's the mark of a truly successful presentation. Not just how you present, but how the audience receives your message and the impact that you have. So with that, I want to thank you so much for your time and attention. That QR code is to my book right here on Amazon. That's the link to Amazon. I also share it. If you wanted a personalized copy, then just email me. My email address is right there. If you have any questions whatsoever and wish to continue this conversation, it would be a real pleasure to do so. But again, I'm open to questions. I again thank you all for being here. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to learn. Vraiment, je vous remercie pour votre temps.